Hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success talk show. My name is Rochelle Slay Queen Hemingway, and I am the CEO and founder of Slay to Success, and I am your host. I'm a speaker and author of the book titled Slay to Success, a mentor, and a 30-year United States Air Force veteran. Huh? All right, so Slay to Success is a leadership and transformational consulting business, and it is designed to help professional women who have recently arrived in a position of leadership, who are on the precipice of leadership, or who are facing an inflection point in their careers or in their lives by offering multiple plethora professional services. And so I am actually working on a women's empowerment event that's going to be held in April. So if you are someone who's in the DMV area like I am, or if you just want to come on out and just come fly out here, travel out here, we will be having an event in April. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of housekeeping here so you all can see. If you are wondering what is Slay to Success doing, what is happening, go ahead and click on the QR code so that you know you can get updated on all the things that are happening. So go ahead and scan it right now. We'll go ahead and put that up later on in the evening, but there are courses, there are meetups, there are free resources that you can have and download today. The access to the YouTube channel, and I would love for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So go ahead and scan it and have it at your fingertips so you know what is going on. So y'all, you know that we're here, okay, for a specific reason. And this is because we want to highlight women and men who are living a life of service on their own terms and using the slay philosophies to positively impact the world. The word slay means to kill it, to dominate it, and to nail it, to be on point, to impress greatly, to dream and work hard until you own it. And not only is it a powerful word, it is also an acronym. So it stands for Universal Life and Leadership Philosophies. S, stay ready to be ready. L, lead out loud. A sense of community, a sense of family, and Y, you are built to last. So we are in for a treat, y'all. Okay, so if you need to go and get your coffee mugs, I don't know if you're drinking coffee this late at night, if you're in the Eastern Standard Time Zone here, or if you just need to get a beverage of your choice, as you're coming in, let us know that you are here. Hey, Latricia, welcome to the Slay to Success talk show. And let us know where you're from. And if you have a business, like I'm an equal opportunist. If you have a business and you want to just give a shout out on what you're doing, please make sure that you put it into the comments so we can see what you're doing, because somebody might need your service. Okay. So we are in for a treat. So thank you so much, Latricia, for being here. We are going to be talking to the Madame. Okay. Now, she is affectionately called the Madame. Her name is Lesley George. Lesley George is a West Indian American entrepreneur, and she is the founder of Mosaic Inc. She is on a mission to empower women globally to embrace equity and authenticity boldly. As a best-selling author, speaker, and a BRAGG coach, BRAGG coach, and we're going to talk about that here on the show, she guides women to confidently thrive in every aspect of life. She's committed to breaking cultural and societal boundaries. She wants us to join her in creating a world where women radiate unapologetically with confidence. So put your hands together for the Madame as she comes to stage. And let me bring her here. Hey, hey, hey.
Wow, I love that introduction. And first of all, before I get started, I just want to say thank you for sharing your platform, because I feel that in any area that we're in, when other women can share their platform to highlight other women, yeah, let's just give an applause for you. So thank you so much. And thank you for moving forward and stepping forward in courage and even doing this talk show, right? Because I've watched the talk show as you've started it, the amazing guests that you have. So I am honored that I am a guest today, but kudos to you for moving forward and creating this platform. So thank you so much for having me this evening.
Absolutely. I'm learning from the best. Okay. So, as some of you who have not had an opportunity to hear from Lesley, and I've had the pleasure to hear her almost every day for the past 2 years. And, we got many people who are here from Mosaic Inc. She is the CEO and founder of Mosaic Inc. And she's on a Clubhouse app. If y'all don't know what Clubhouse is, get the app, download, and find Mosaic Inc. and join us every morning at 7:45 a.m. But I absolutely have just learned so much from you that it is absolutely crazy to me how, even just through an app, how we can impact and influence one another. And so we've got a lot of people here from the Mosaic Inc. So I got to do the shout outs. Karan is here. Hi, my queen. Welcome. She's here. She's on LinkedIn. All right. So all my LinkedIn professionals, how you doing out there? Jay is here. Hey, hey. I don't know if Jay is still in California, but she was traveling. So welcome, welcome. We're glad you're so here. Tanae is in the building. She said, I'm showing up tonight. So yes. And Janae said yes. Mosaic Inc. is in the house. Yes, we are. So this is what it's all about. And so we are, without further ado, okay, we're going to get started in this conversation, which may be a little lengthy, but people will hang in there because they'll be like, this is just too good. It's just too good. So what makes Lesley Lesley? Like, I
Mm,
just, let's just start from, who you are, what
mm.
you do, how you do it, just to give the audience a little bit about who you are.
Ooh, that's spicy, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna take me back. So I want to say that I'm a military brat. And prior to the show, you and I were just talking about that, where I said, we didn't live any place longer than 2 years. I think that being my dad was in the Air Force, and being a military brat, looking back now as I was growing up, has really afforded me to look at the world through very different lenses.
Mm,
Where I was able to live in Africa. I'm from the Caribbean. My dad is American. So just right there, you have this hodgepodge of stuff going on, right?
mhm,
Where, I would hear one thing from my mom based on her West Indian background, and from my dad based on his American background, and he has lived in practically every country in this world. He's even lived in Greenland, right? So just being grateful for that opportunity to, as I was growing up, to be a part of that dynamic, because I see now that being a part of that dynamic has really molded me for who I am. So, one of the things that I say as I talk about women being bold and women being unapologetically themselves, like, I mean that with every fiber within me. And I say that when we talk about being unapologetically, it means however you are, you just show up the way that you are. The world will conform to you. And for so long, because I'm going to put my hand up, I was one of those. I conformed to the world and not realizing that no, the world will conform to me. Because as you mentioned, we'll talk about the brag a little bit later, because when we are put here, each and every one of us, we know that we have our own identical fingerprint. We all know that. But do we really exercise that? And the
mm,
world is looking for us to exercise that. So I think that as I talk a little bit about my background and growing up, that's really made me look at the world the way that I look at the world. And we all view things differently. But for me, I love embrace diversity. And when I talk about diversity, it can be high level at times, But I even like to go down to the micro as saying that even my neighbor, because even when you're in a neighborhood, your neighbor may be doing something totally different than you, right? Because
Mhm.
their household is made up different than yours.
Yep.
So when I talk about diversity, I want us to get down to the micro of really what diversity really looks like. Each and every one of us, there's different things that we like. We may be a part of an organization or a sisterhood or whatever, but within that, we still have to show up as ourselves.
Mhm.
And for me, that is, I know that that is what makes me unique. And one of the phrases I developed about 6 years ago is we are all uniquely the same. It may sound a little bit funny, but when you pay attention to it, we're all uniquely the same, right? And in
Yep.
terms of same, women, so we're all women. But at the same time, we're all different. I do not like the phrase that America is a melting pot. I don't like that at all, right? Because a melting pot to me is we just throw everything in there and everything just kind of blends in together. No, I'm not about blending together. I'm about how do you stand out in that pot so that when somebody tastes, they know, oh my goodness, that's a good piece of potato. Or
Right.
somebody tastes a carrot. Oh my goodness, that's a good carrot. I want that when we are in whatever collective, that whoever you are, you show up uniquely, unapologetically as yourself. So I think that's what makes Leslie.
I mean, y'all, there's a lot that was in that. But okay, so let me just ask just a couple of questions in that,
Okay.
right? So, what do you think holds people back from being unique
Mm,
and themselves? What I
mm.
mean, I know there's a whole lot of theories, if you will, but what do, in your opinion, is it?
Going back to society, um, depending on how we're raised, where we were raised, what are some of the things that you may hear people talk about? I talk about this thing called the middle passage because I believe that when we first as young adults, young not adults, young people, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're in this play zone. You're in a zone where life is free. There's so many things that you just absorb the world and you just move through the world as instinct. But then it comes a time that everybody else wants to start to now put different pressures and different things on you. So now you're thinking, oh wow, so okay, the way that I was moving, is that wrong? So now you
Mhm.
start questioning yourself and you're not really leaning into your instinct, your gut. And I think as women, that is the one thing that we have. We have that instinct, we have that gut. And a lot of times when we're not listening to that and we're not
Mm.
moving in that, that's kind of where we kind of veer off. But here's the other thing, and I say this all the time: women, as women, we can do such an incredible job by holding space for one another, because when we can hold space for one another and we see that woman kind of veering off, and we know that, oh, there's something just not, she is not showing up as how God made her, right? As women, we need to be the ones to be able to hold space for other women, to kind of help them and usher them. And then as you're helping them and usher them, we're giving them permission. That's the thing. If we can give other women permission
Yep.
to show up as themselves, my God, there's so much we can do. So for me, it's not that they don't want to, because I
Mhm.
know there was a time in my life that that was a battle for me, right? My rap that I have on my head right now,
Mhm.
I'm government employee. I've been a government employee for well over 20 years. And there was a time that this is something I've been doing since I was a kid. I said I lived in Africa. So this is something I've been doing since I'm a kid from the Caribbean.
Right.
Wrapping my hair is really no big deal, right? But I couldn't do it. And because I was wondering, oh my goodness, like what are they going to think about when I go into work? And it took me 10 years before I
Mhm.
could do this and walk into work comfortably. Now,
Mhm.
the pressure, the uncomfortability, the
Yes.
showing up fake, that that thing there can stop so many parts of you. And when I say so many parts of you, because I was not showing up as myself,
Yeah.
right? And so because of that, my voice was stifled. because I would feel, well, okay, I got all this stuff going on. So I would mute my own self. And in that turmoil that you're going through, like it's a mental game that you're playing, and that mental game shows up physically. And I say that for many years, physically, you saw me,
Mm-hmm.
but I really wasn't there for
Oh.
many years. And so for me, when I talk about women showing up unapologetically as themselves, because I know what that feels like. And I know I can't be the only one that at one time in her life that she couldn't show up for herself. So I know that there's other women out there, and I want women to hear my voice, to know that it's okay. However you show up, it's okay, because you are here for a reason. Every single one of us are here for a reason. The person that made the chair made it for us to sit down. I love
Mm-hmm.
to travel. They invented the plane, made
Mm-hmm.
it for a reason for us to travel. So so you can't tell me that there's a single human being on this earth that's here that was not here for a reason. And so that's why for me, I want my voice to echo to young girls and women, to know that you show up unapologetically. My daughter, she's 19. And one of the things that me and my husband said when she was growing up is, "Oh, we know what kind of child we got." But because she's a young woman, that's something that we've been praying about ever since she's been born, is that for her to walk through this world and for her to go through this world the way that her parents know that she has always been, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and depending on what era you come from, my daughter's 19, so she has some friends that still they can't speak for themselves. But there
Mm.
was an era at one time where you're to be seen and not heard.
Yeah, that's right.
I understand respect. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I understand respect.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how are you teaching that young girl that she has a voice, and not only that, that she matters?
Mm.
Because every time I mute you, I am telling you, you don't matter. I am telling you, you are not worthy. And so, as you now become an adult, well, you're going to function the same way.
That's right.
Why are you going to function any different? You're going to function the same way. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You said a lot. Okay, so let me just take this from the comments first. We'll get everyone here. So Thelma wants to give you flowers here. She says Lesley George is
I
the
love
brick and
her.
wall definition of women's safe space. She's the prize. And I absolutely 1,000% agree with that. Um, and Latrice is saying there are women who are not showing up as themselves. And Jay is like, hey, I'm unmuting myself. So, when you created Mosaic Inc., right? How did that come to be? How did you
Mm,
know you needed to hold this space and to create it? Like the vision.
mm.
What happened, or was there a specific incident or experience you had? It was like, you know what? No, we're gonna make sure that no one gets muted.
I love that. I love that. So I say that Mosaic happens to be the name of the company, but Mosaic is who I am. And I was in spaces where I was created in any job that I've been in, as a leader. And we have several leaders on here, but as leaders, when we show up in different spaces, for some reason our voices can be muted, but they want us to do a whole lot of stuff, right?
Mhm.
And so I was doing a whole lot of stuff for people that I worked for. And it came a point that, okay, well, I'm doing all this for y'all. I need to do this for myself. I need to do it the way that I want to do it. And so I was the diversity chairperson for the city that I was working for. And we had put on a large event. And I think at that point in time, there were some things that I wish that I could do the way that I wanted to do it. And at that point in time, I said, no, I need to create a platform for women.
Mhm.
And it was really, and don't get me wrong, I was scared because I
Mhm.
did not know what I was doing. Prior to that, I had created a janitorial company. And then prior to that, I had started a daycare. But now I'm talking about creating something for women to create a platform for women. Now, throughout my life, one of the things that I have always done is I want to be able to speak life into women. Although, in looking back, I didn't have anyone speaking life into me, but I knew how necessary and important it was for me to speak life into women. And so Mosaic Inc. has a tagline: Sisters Inspiring Others. And that S, the I, and the O is, you put those letters together, that's my grandmother's nickname. So my grandmother is pivotal, front and center in everything that I do, because growing up, watching her, she was an incredible entrepreneur, real estate, bakery, liquor store. And I watched the different things that she did and the way she poured back into people. So that is really where I got that from.
Mm-hmm.
So I always want to honor her. And the reason why I go back to my grandmother is because the way that I look at it is that my grandmother started it, and then my mother, and then me, and then obviously my daughters, and so on and so on. So that was really a combination of it. And the other part is that I've been saying for like 20 years, I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna write a book.
Yep.
But one of the things that I didn't realize is, okay, I keep on saying this thing, but Leslie, when you gonna pull the trigger on writing this book? Like, you sound like a broken record. And after a while, I got tired of saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, I got in contact with a friend of mine that I know that's a publisher, and I just threw out an idea, and I said, I want to do a book, and she says, great, we could do this and that, and then the my first event for Mosaic happened to be my book launch. And as you asked me about how did Mosaic start, I'm going to read from my chapter in the book. And when I talk about being muted and we doing all the things, this really goes to that. So, you will never make it as a Black woman in America, said Andy in August of 1992. And then I said, what a blow to my ego. Andy was my boss, a white man from London, England, who prior to that comment had trusted me to build his multi-million-dollar resort and later to operate the property. Our work relationship lasted for 4 years. Never would I have expected that me telling him that I'm leaving the company in Antigua in the West Indies to pursue my education will result in that reaction. That had been something that had been on my mind, in the back of my head, for years.
Mm-hmm.
I never really spoke about it until when I wrote the book. And when I wrote the book, the publisher called me and she says, wow, Leslie. And when you go through a writing process, there's some things that kind of flow out of you. And one of the things for me is truth. And as I say, show up authentically. So, how can I not show up authentically without giving this story?
Right.
And at that time in my life, that was a blow to my ego, literally, and also started the process of muting me. Because if
Mm.
you're entrusted with building somebody's property, if you're entrusted with millions of dollars to run a property, and then now somebody's going to tell you you're never going to make it as a Black woman in America, I don't care who you are, you're going to keep that thing in the back of your head and think, oh my God, like, did I make a mistake? Should I
Yep.
stay? All this stuff that you're going through. And so for years, I didn't realize that that had been something that was haunting me. And
Mm.
so because of that, I had been playing this, I was this doing this performative thing
Mm-hmm.
at work, because I always wanted to make sure that as a Black woman, I could make it.
Yep.
But here's what I learned. What I learned is making it is doing what the hell I want to do.
Yeah.
Making it is by no one else's standard besides my standard. I'm the one that decides if I make it. But the mistake is that I let Andy's words echo, and I was doing this dance all the time to try and be sure that yes, I'm making it as a Black woman. Hell no. And so for anybody that may not have No one has told them those exact words.
Right.
But if it's something like that, you're the one that decides what that success looks like.
Hmm.
You're the one that decides what making it looks like.
Yep.
You are the one to decide.
Yeah. And you know what? I think you have like transformed women within this space within the first 20 minutes of us being in here, because not a lot of people will even take the time to really understand and then make that switch, you know, because it's easier to protect yourself, where you're at. But when you can say, no, I'm no longer going to, like do someone else's dream or, measure up to their sort of success, it just changes the way that you show up. You show up you. And I love it. It's absolutely beautiful. And Christina's on here. She says, no longer letting someone else determine her worth or her success.
No,
Absolutely. Yeah,
no,
because at this point in our lives, let's just be honest about it, right? Most of the viewers in my audience are, older women between the ages of 40 and 50 and maybe 60. And sometimes we don't even evolve until we get much older. And then if we could stop to think about these when we were a little bit younger, how much time we would have to do what we could do, right? What we were designed to do.
exactly.
And I love it. So Christina is encouraging Latricia to write her book.
Write that book.
You write the book,
Write
you
that
know.
book. Get
And
it
I
out.
think that is something that we all should do, regardless of what it looks like. And it's essentially why I wrote my book too, is because I just needed to let some things go. I
Hmm.
needed to write it out and just let it be and just
Hmm.
move forward.
Yep.
But we got to write our own stories, because then other people will write them for us.
Exactly.
So thank you, Dr. Rhonda Beckwith. She is here, my retired Air Force sister in arms. She is here with us tonight. So thank you for coming into the space. So let's get right into the leadership topic, right? Because
Mm.
when I got into the clubhouse, all right, one of the things that I absolutely love to talk about is leadership. And then when I found out that you were very passionate about leadership too, I was like, if we just had, the time just me and you, this is going to be a full conversation, y'all. So, okay. So, when you think of leadership, okay, what comes at the top of your mind about leadership? We'll start from
Mm.
there.
Top of mind when it comes to leadership. I think about, let's go to the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell.
Yes.
One of the laws that he has is the law of influence.
Mm,
And the law of influence, and there's another part that he has, this quote is that if you think you're leading and you're going down the road and you turn around, ain't nobody behind you, you ain't leading nobody.
nope, nobody.
You ain't leading nobody. So that's for me where influence comes in. And I even want to take a step further for influence, where there's another book that he wrote where he talks about positional leadership and different types of leadership.
Hmm.
And for me, I'm gonna share a story about volunteering, a volunteer army, because I feel when you could lead a volunteer army, that's leadership,
Yes.
right? And so, for probably about 10 years, I led a team of probably about 10 people um, through an IRS program called VITA.
Mm,
And we were able to do probably about 650 free taxes every year for people in certain income categories. And because of that, we were able to, I want to say, maybe put over a half of, no, probably 1.5 million in back into the economy every year. And the reason why I talk about influence and I go to volunteer, if you can lead a volunteer team that you're not paying them, they not related to you, they ain't got to listen to you. If you can do that consistently for 10 years,
Mm.
and make an impact in the community, money monetarily as well, that is where the law of influence comes in. And you know, we have influencers now on social media and all
Oh
over,
yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
you know that word influence has been taken to so many different levels.
Yeah.
But in the disassessment, I'm a very high I, right?
Yes.
I'm a
Hmm.
very high influencer.
Hmm.
Um, and that is something, like I said, for me, it starts with leading a volunteer army. And then once you understand the crux of that, in terms of leadership, because there's going to be all kinds of dynamics that's going on with that.
Oh yeah.
Once you can understand that, for me, then you can lead anyone, anywhere, anyone, train on it, whatever. So that's for me, influence is important.
Yeah.
And going back to his phrase, if you think that you're a leader and ain't nobody following you, you're
You're
not
not leading.
you're not
That's I'm with you
you
a
ain't
hundred
leading.
percent.
You ain't leading nobody.
You're not
Yeah,
doing
yeah, you're not
it.
leading. So influence is very is and also let me just say this as well, right? Even influence in your household.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's even get to the micro, even influence in your household, in terms of your children, your spouse, your family members. That's important, and those are some things that help develop those leadership skills. And you know, as I said, I'm a military brat, and even looking back over my childhood, that's really who I am. So you don't just pop up as this person. That's really who you are. Because I remember um, writing plays, and I was not the actor in the play, but I got the actors. I'm directing. I'm telling people who is doing what,
Right.
who's so
That's what we do.
yeah, yeah. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So and law of influence could definitely, it's a powerful way to show people and showcase people that you know how to lead. And so I like different traits of leadership, like humility, self-discipline, you know, having the capacity to do things that you didn't even think that you could do, going outside of your comfort zone and so forth. So when you look at the traits of a leader, what resonates with you?
Mm. Consistency,
Consistency, yeah.
leading by example.
Mm,
You can't you cannot, it's not like back in the day, do as I say and not as I do.
yeah,
You cannot, and this is for me,
yeah,
that I am not going to tell you to do something that I'm not willing to do.
right.
And let's go back to a story on that. So going back to my hotel days at this resort, yeah, I was a young girl, 23 years, in my early 20s. And based on that position that I had, like at that time, I thought my shit didn't stink. You know, I was just,
Mm,
I was the ish.
mm-hmm,
And we were very busy. It was a new resort, and so we had a lot of people coming in. Turnover in terms of guests was very high. And as a GM, you know, I'm just doing the GM stuff, and thinking that I just need to be barking orders on people.
mm-hmm.
And one of the housekeepers said to me, her name is Sonia. She said to me, Lesley, you see that we busy. We are trying to get these people out and get the units ready so that we can get people in. And you just walking around. Don't you think that you can help? I was like, she is not talking to me because I could fire her.
Right.
She's not talking to me. And this lady at that time was in her 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it made me stop and think. And from then is when I developed, I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not doing. So for me, it's consistency, leading by example, um, simple, repetitious actions.
Mm-hmm.
Those are three things that are huge for me, because you have different leadership styles. That's just not mine. I am going to be able to walk the walk and be able to tell you what that walk looks like or what
Right.
that walk is about. It's really up to you if you want to do it, but be for sure that I have walked that walk. So I'm not telling you something that maybe I just read in a book and I didn't execute on it. So I think that that is the type of leader that I am, and it was developed from someone having the courage to kind of call me on the carpet. And I think about her all the time, because, there's different situations in our lives that help mold us to who we are. And that one thing is pivotal. And the reason why I say that is because I see leaders all the time, and they're usually positional leaders
Mm-hmm.
where they just have the title.
Yep.
And so they don't understand that they're just a positional leader, and without that title, people will not pay attention to what the hell they talking
At
about,
all.
right? And
Yep.
some people don't really look at that. And so for me, that ties back into the influence,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Because if I'm not walking the walk, and I'm not interested in you, and I'm interested in you following me, that goes back to the influence. um yeah, so I want to say that that's the type of leader that
Yeah.
I'm not interested in positional leadership at all. Not
Well,
interested.
that it only takes one person to say something, because you could have probably just went on for your whole life and went into the direction of just telling people what to do.
Yep.
And when she said, hey, I always think of those types of people who are really have your best interests at heart, who really want to see you win. So they gotta say something. But some folks won't tell you anything because you've already positioned yourself in a way where you can't be confronted because you're not approachable, and people know what they're going to get when they say something. So
Very
um
true.
we've got several comments here. Dwayne, who's here on LinkedIn, he drops in a lot. Said leadership to him is inspiring people towards a shared purpose and a vision. Absolutely, people need to know where they're going and what
Hmm.
they're supposed to be doing because they want meaningful work. And you just
Hmm.
telling people to go and do work and they don't even know what they're working towards. It never bows out well. He's also said it's not what you say, it's who you are, the godly character within you. Absolutely agree. So Christina, yes, she's like, and Thelma, they're right there. A true leader, she says, takes charge irrespective of wherever they are in the room. And it's so true. People know who the leader is without
Hmm.
them having anything on their chest, on their name tag, maybe even a hat. People already know just by the way that they hold themselves up, the way that they're speaking, how the people are responding to them. So I absolutely, love the art of leadership because
Hmm.
it is an art and a science to it. And it is a trial by error, just based on, who you're leading and how you're leading, because it's different for everyone responds differently to the things. So, some of the things that we also talk about is, self leadership, right? So, even as I was, in the military, they focus more so on you lead these people here, right?
Yep.
And not until I got a little bit more mature and I realized it all starts with me,
Yep.
right? And so when it all starts with you, it's a whole different way that you need to go about taking care of you and holding yourself accountable. And when we as leaders aren't really owning everything, we have to own what we say, right? With the responsibilities of self leadership. So, what is your take on self leadership and the
Mm.
premise behind self leadership?
Self-awareness.
Mm.
I think self-awareness is so key, and sometimes we may miss that.
Yeah.
But in self-leadership, self-awareness, I feel, is the foundation. How are you recognizing your own strengths, your own weaknesses? And that sometimes we don't want to talk about that. I'm not talking about developing your weakness,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about knowing what they are and knowing what your, let's even talk about your emotions as well,
Yeah.
right? Let's talk about what motivates you. And so sometimes, and I'm glad what you said, like in the military, it's all about what you're doing to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not really looking inward.
Right.
And I feel that when we are not looking inward, we are really doing ourselves and everyone else around us a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel that that can spiral into a whole lot of other things, right? Because one we're not being present, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because we're thinking about all these other external things, so we're not being present. We're thinking about everything else, and we're not really focused on our self-awareness. And like I said, self-awareness for me is really the key. And also, as we're talking about self-leadership, what are your personal vision? What's the vision? What are your values? What are your
Right.
goals? What's your purpose? As I said earlier, as we got started, that every single one of us, we have a purpose. But when you are always, everything is always external, you're not focused on that. You're not focused on your goals, your values, and your purpose. It's always external. And so, like I said, for me, I start with self-awareness, and it might go back to, my days with Sonia, because of that, it put me on that path of,
Mm-hmm.
really understanding and learning who Lesley is. How does she show up in the world? How does she move forward with her goals and her purpose and so forth? And also, by creating a platform like Mosaic, how do I even now assist other women with that?
Yeah.
Because I coach women.
Mm-hmm.
I have a program. And so in that program, that is really and truly what we talk about, is how are you, name the program is Rescue Her.
Yeah.
And it is named that on purpose, because it is how are you self governing? Maybe,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How are you self governing? It's not, and depends on what industry that we're in. Obviously, if you're in the military um, field, it is very external. So now, when do you start tapping into self?
Yeah.
So yeah, self awareness is very key for me.
Yeah.
And it's not self awareness to just look for the good. It is looking for everything, all parts of you, because we don't just show up always in the positive and show up always in the good. So it's just looking at all parts of us.
Yeah. I like all that, especially when you're saying that, the self-governing piece, to really think about how you're moving, how you're doing what you do, and what is the impact that you're making when you do that. Is it a positive or a negative effect? And sometimes we don't really stop and think about it until something happens and it is a bad situation or a significant emotional event,
Hmm.
and then we're trying to like dial it back in and really trying to figure it out. So Rescue Her is definitely a program that most women who are struggling in doing that would definitely benefit from. So, hopefully, anyone who's listening in who needs to be rescued, you need to rescue yourself. Please get in contact with Lesley, so that way she can talk you through that. So when you talked about, the governing piece to it, and you started into like the wellness piece, all
Mm,
right, of to taking care of yourself. Because sometimes as women and as women leaders, we sacrifice a whole lot, all right, to get to where we want to go. So what does your wellness look like, or what is some advice or mentorship that you give on wellness?
mm. So I love that because that takes me to November of 2021, where I wasn't taking care of myself and I ended up in a hospital for 4 days. And so being in the hospital, as you know, any kind of experience, and like I mentioned that self-awareness is key for me.
Mhm.
And I use that opportunity to now, how am I going to come out of that? And now, what are some additional changes that I'm going to make?
Mm.
Um, so one of the things that I coach women on is that yeah, we can be doing all the things, but when are you gonna pause? Because you need to pause. And I like to talk about the every 90 days. So, we have a year and we have 4 quarters. And so 90 days is usually a quarter. How are you looking at, okay, so you had some goals, you had some deadlines, some things that you had put on your calendar, you reached them, or you didn't reach them, because sometimes we can miss the mark and that's okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you reached them, you didn't reach them, but now, what are you doing now to debrief, military term?
Yeah, it is a military term. Debriefs.
How are you now gonna debrief from the situation, and now for you to gear yourself back up?
Mhm.
So 90-day sprints, and in network marketing talk about that a lot, but not just using 90-day sprints to sprint and then sprint and sprint and sprint, but use 90 days to look at 90 days as a reflection. At the end of the 90 days, look at that as a reflection of what you did, and now build in some time there to decompress.
Mm.
That's important.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say this as well, that whenever we are doing anything, and anything that requires a lot of energy, let me just say that.
Yes.
Whether you're putting on an event, you're doing a luncheon, anything that's going to exert a lot of energy for you. And don't think because online it's any different. It's not.
Right.
don't, don't think it's not.
Ah.
Build in, I
Yeah.
live by my calendar. Build in some time prior and then some time after whatever that thing is, right? And so even this podcast with you today.
Yeah.
So I went to church earlier,
Yeah.
and so after church, probably from 3 to from about 3 to 5, I was just chilling, not doing nothing. And that's usually what I do every Sundays, but that's on purpose. And it's okay. And the only reason I'm going through this, because for me, that was hard.
Yeah.
And it is okay to not be busy doing something every minute. Because what happens is we just go through this checking off the box. And that don't work good, because after a while you going to get burned out. I don't care who you are. So we go through this thing that we're just moving from one to the next to the next to the next, and not taking the time to breathe and to even look back over that thing and say, okay, let me have a session as to what went well,
Mhm.
what didn't go so well, how can I improve? Because also, no matter how good something goes, it can always be improved,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you don't take the time to do those things, you just moving, and then next thing you know, like a year, 2 years went by, and you didn't even know what the hell was going on in your business or in your career or whatever, right? Because you just moving. Take that time, one, to celebrate as well,
Yeah.
right? Take
Yeah.
that time to celebrate that. You did the thing.
You did it.
You did the thing.
Yeah.
Right? So
You
you
taught me that.
okay? You
Yeah.
you did the thing. Take some time for that. And that kind of leads into now in terms of the brag, because when we don't do that, we lose perspective of the things that we have done. And as women, we can be so very hard on ourselves. But if we are not constantly building that in, constantly, and it may take you a couple of years, it may take you maybe for 2024, you may say, Leslie's talking, she don't know what I got going on my calendar. I can't do no decompressing every 90 days. Right? Because I know how we are.
Yeah.
So maybe it's every 6 months, but whatever it is, please build yourself up to that because it is important. And guess what? Your business, once you build things into your business is still going to run.
Mm-hmm.
At one time, I was running a daycare, and let me just give you my hours so you understand when I talk about pausing. The daycare opened at 6, and I was still working full time. So I would get to the daycare for 5 o'clock in the morning. I would open up I'll leave the daycare about 6:30 because my mom will come and relieve me. I would go home, get ready, go to work, leave work at 5 o'clock, stop in at the daycare to relieve my mom. And at one time, my crazy self, the daycare was closing at midnight. So I would be at the daycare till midnight. And then I said, oh no, this not working. My husband was complaining. I'm saying, he don't know what he talking about. People got children and I need to be, because we can do that, right? And so I scaled it back to 9 o'clock. And then finally, no, this not working. I scaled it back to 6,
Mm.
right? So I say this, as I said, I don't just talk, I walk the walk. I've done it. And that thing, the way that that can show up in your body as women, that's not healthy mentally or physically. And for the people in your household as leaders, as women, we're leaders. And so we have, whether you have children, you got nieces, you got nephews, whoever you have that's around you, you are teaching them something, right? Oh, auntie ain't never available. Oh, mommy ain't never around. That's what that's what we're teaching
You're
them.
right.
That's what we're teaching them, right? So if you think that we need to be on the hamster wheel all the time and we don't need to decompress, like I said, I know you got stuff going on. I know you got stuff on your calendar. I know you're doing all the things. But please, if there's anything that as we leave here tonight, as we're going to get ready to go into 2024,
Mm.
look at your calendar for 2024 and maybe build that in after 6 months or something, but start to work that in and maybe build yourself out a 4-year plan or a 5-year plan so that it can start to feel a little bit more comfortable for you, because that is important.
Man, okay, let's start with Tiffany. Okay. Tiffany
Wow.
says it took her almost 15 years in the military to learn it, and she wished she had learned it earlier. I'll
Wow.
definitely be taking this back to my team because they're still early in their career.
Yes.
Um, and she also thanked you for the perspective because she's doing it now.
Mm,
And this is the first time in 15 years that she's had to relax and she hasn't done it in a while. And I'm going to be very honest with you. It took me 30 years.
mm,
It took me to retire from the United States of the Air Force to say, you need to slow down and stop running the hamster
yep.
wheel.
Yep.
And when you reached out to me after my first event and said, okay, you're going to not do anything for the day afterwards because you need to like relish in what you were able to do and to just to give yourself a break. It was the first time that I've ever done that before.
Mm,
I have been running events and doing all kinds of things for 30 years and
mm,
never once did I say, Okay, let me just rest. It was on to the next, into the next, into the next, into the next. Thank God my body did not fold up and, stop working on me. But now I realize that I was putting a lot of strain on me, unnecessary, because my standard was here.
Right.
And so when you're trying to meet the standard that you're putting on which is unrealistic at most times, you are always going, going, going. And even Tiffany, so Tiffany was my exec, which she was my my everything when I was in my last position. She took care of me. She said I was always on the go, and
Mm-mm.
she is not lying. So I pressed pause, and now I feel a lot better. But thank you so much for sharing that with this audience, because I think a lot of us appreciate that we get permission to just stay still. Latricia
Yeah.
says, definitely learn to press pause. I'm not going to be ran ragged. Absolutely. So we also talk here a little bit on the show. So thank you all for being here and sticking
Yes.
with us. We
Yes.
love you. Just we've got some several things to be talking about. Okay, Sine says my body is telling on me right now that pause is necessary. Yes, Sine. So whatever we need to do to take care
Hmm.
of ourselves better, and just taking a moment to really look at ourselves in the mirror for a minute and say, is this the person that I recognize? Do I recognize her? If you say yes, you're great. If you don't, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. And let me also add that also as business owners, we think that we need to have our calendar open all the time. Yeah, now. That calendar, you control that calendar. It's your calendar.
hmm
Oh, well, if they can't get on your calendar for 2 weeks, it's your calendar. Because you need to be good. You need
yeah,
to be good. And like I said, I say this because I was the one. Yeah, I'm squeezing something in and squeezing something in here,
squeeze it in.
squeeze it in, squeezing something in
That's
here.
right.
Mm, yeah, no. Mm-mm, mm-mm. My family, everybody knows anywhere we going somewhere because I'm a nap queen. I'm a nap
Yeah,
queen. And it took me a long time for me to say that in public because I was like ashamed to say that, right? Because I figured, oh Lord, people gonna say all kinds of stuff. But I am a nap queen. Like Saturdays, like the family, we went to New Orleans the end of September, and they would tease me, "Ma, you need to take a nap." I said, "Y'all know I'm gonna need to take me my nap because I need
yeah,
to take me my nap. We going running around, going all these different places. Yeah, I need to build in a nap somewhere. Okay." And what is that? That is you taking care of yourself.
yeah.
And if they ask you, the only reason why they ask you because they know that you've already set that precedent that that's what you do.
That's right. That's right. It is just like anything else. So we got to do more of that. And
Mhm.
Dwayne, he's here. He's going to make sure we go to church today. Okay. So one morning during my prayer time, the Lord put on my heart to start from the inside out.
Yes.
Start the relationship with Him. Then He'll let us know how He sees us. We are pressure and honor in His eyes. We're above and never beneath, unique, more than conquerors, and always loved. Knowing how much He loves us impacts how we see, lead, and trust others. Trust Him, and He'll direct your path. Amen.
Amen to that. Thank
Yes.
you so much for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dwayne. So, one of the other things that I do want us to talk about, Lesley, is mindset.
Mm, mm.
And mindset is a buzzword, of course, right? It's something that people are always kind of going, shift the mindset, change your mindset, you know. Um, and and for me, when I kind of think about mindset, I think about, you know, my lens. How do I see things? And when I'm looking, do I operate from what I know, or am I operating from different, you know, voices, experiences, and um, the way that I have just like been in different situations. And, you know, we can bog our minds down with a lot of negativity. The world always tells us that there's always things that are bad that are going on. And then our minds start shifting in that direction too. So what what are some mindset, you know, kind of like mindset. I can't even think about
I
the thing. Just
well,
how do you see things?
mm,
How do you when people come to you and they're in a way about, how they've been, you know, getting to a certain point of their life, do you talk to them about the mindset? Or how does that work for you?
mm. Well, one of the things that we're talks about is overcoming limiting beliefs, right? So we talk about
Mhm.
mindset. And so I talked about it earlier about being present. I feel that one of the greatest things to help us with that type of positive mindset is to be present. And in terms of being present, is how are we expressing gratitude
Mm.
in the present? Because when we are busy looking at the past, trying to worry about the past, and we're busy worried about the future, and we're not here, I feel that that's where we can start to run into trouble. Because when we're not looking here, we're not in gratitude.
Mhm.
And limiting beliefs, all the different buzzwords that they have, gratitude, being grateful, and also comparison, like that
Mm.
is the kiss of death for me. Um, Comparison.
Yep.
And I talk about courage and I talk about confidence a lot.
Mhm.
And however, people that may hear me talk about it, however they want to take it, that really doesn't bother me. Right. I'm at the
Yeah.
point now that that doesn't bother me. But the brag for me is an acronym that I came up with to help with that. And the brag, it's an acronym for be responsible for amplifying God's greatness in you. And as I talk about gratitude and being here in the present, that is a tool to help you with that. So
Mhm.
it's not necessarily a tool for other people. It's more for you to stay center and to keep center. You're not looking at other people. You're not in somebody else's lane. You can't be in their lane because number one, you really don't know. You may think that they have this kind of car, but you don't know what kind of gas they put in their car.
Mm-mm.
You don't know how long they had it. You don't know it's really and truly under the hood, but you want to race with them thinking that you can. And so stay present. We're not comparing because we're all unique.
Mhm.
You can't compare two unique things. We're all different. So when you show up in you being unique and you understanding what you bring to this world, you don't need to compare yourself to anybody. And so because of that now, you can amplify the greatness that's in you that God put in you.
Mhm.
So for me, the brag, being courageous, being confident. Let me also say this. Being courageous and taking responsibility for things that you're part of. Let's go back to leadership. One of the biggest things in leadership is to take responsibility. However that thing goes, good, right, upside down, no matter. That is courage as well. So people may think that courage is when everything is going wonderful and
Mhm.
everything goes according to plan.
Mhm.
And being confident is when everything is going according to plan. No, it ain't always about that. The thing may just go hella upside down. You wondering what the hell done happened,
Mhm.
right? But just because of that, that's not going to rob you from you being courageous and being confident. So for me, in terms of mindset, and you're right, it is a big buzzword, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in terms of mindset, coaching women, let's be present. Um, let's be grateful for the greatness that has been deposited in you. And if you can stay on that, you don't give a darn what anybody else doing because you're staying center on who the heck you are. And that goes back to that self-awareness again, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Goes right back to that. Because stay here, stay here.
Yeah.
You know, there's always gonna be stuff going on out there. There's always gonna be, but that is going to rob you of who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna take you off of your path. So yeah, so that's yeah, that's really how I walk women through that.
Yeah. So Dwayne's got a comment here for us too. He says, being a minority, he had to deal with unconsciously isolating himself.
Mm, yeah,
And that,
I could talk about that all night.
yeah, you can. What is your take on that?
Woo! So and Dwayne is a male, but
Hmm.
you know, at one time I've always worked in white spaces.
Yeah.
And so as a black woman, and not just a black woman, as a West Indian woman, because even at a time in my life where I would try and hide my accent because I
Hmm.
wanted to blend in. I
Yeah.
didn't want any additional thing that you could highlight
Yeah.
that was gonna have me stand out.
Hmm.
Well, hell, shit. That's the thing that make me stand out now,
Right.
right? But before, I was hiding all of that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, you don't see me, I'm not here. I did that for so many years. I did that for so, like, I'm not here. I'll
Mm.
do all the things. I'm doing all the things, but I'm over here in the corner.
Yeah.
And I know that you know the great work that I'm doing. And so if something comes up, an opportunity comes up, I'm here. And
Yeah.
you gonna tap on my shoulder. That don't work. That don't work. I teach women that. I teach my children that. I'm gonna start training young girls on that. That don't
Yeah.
work. That
Yeah.
don't
It
work.
doesn't work.
That don't work. So yeah.
No.
So Dwayne, thank you for injecting that, because yeah, that just brings back a whole lot of memories for me. Yeah. Being over here trying to blend in. I'm a black woman that got a West Indian accent, got a mix up accent because I've lived all over the place and spoke different languages and trying to blend in. Like what?
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that.
You can't do that because Thelma says we're all unique and we're the main sauce in our ingredients.
That's it.
So that's why we're not.
That's it.
Okay, so we've been here for about a little bit over an hour. I knew we were going to, and I'm good because it's just like hopefully you're good too on
Yep.
your end. Maybe a few more minutes, but I do want to um, ask you a couple more questions. One of them is if you were to roll back time just a little
Mm,
bit and you're starting out, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs in my audience, because as I've been on my journey, they're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here, right? What advice would you give to someone, maybe the top three pieces of advice that you would give for someone who is just starting out, not quite sure, doesn't know really what to do, where to go? What would you tell them?
mm. Go ahead and do it anyway. Go ahead
Mm,
and do, because that does take courage. Because a lot of people, um, one of the phrases is that the richest place is the cemetery.
mhm.
And the reason for that is because there's so many dreams, so many books, records, songs, so many different things that never got birth. So there are going to be some stumbling blocks. You are going to run into some stumbling blocks, because usually the path that you're going down is because your uniqueness
Mm-hmm.
that you're bringing to the marketplace, you're solving a problem. But that's why you're going down this path, because the problem has not been solved.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of being an entrepreneur, there's several entrepreneurs that can help you with the tactile things, the sales and the marketing and da da
Mm-hmm.
da, and all the other things. But in terms of your unique vision, hold on to that unique vision. I talk about Walt Disney. Walt Disney is celebrating 100 years this month.
Mm-hmm.
And this man had an incredible vision. This man did not see Walt Disney World in Orlando open because he had Disneyland in California open.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he had passed away before Orlando opened, and I say this phrase all the time, is that I think they interviewed his brother-in-law, and they said, my God, he missed seeing this. His brother-in-law said, he's seen this in his mind
Mm.
so many times more than we have. And so your vision, hold on to that vision. In my program, I talk about something called VIPs, visionaries, implementers, and producers. And so as a visionary, you have this unique gift, that you have this huge dream, that this grandiose, enormous thing. And people may want to shrink that for you.
Mm-hmm.
But remember that they're giving you advice from their lens. They're not
Right.
giving you advice from what you know and what you feel. So I would say move in that now. As you move in that, you're going to need some people. And those are the implementers, the VIPs, right? The implementers. You're going to need some implementers. You're going to need some producers. So you're going to need some people to help you. So as you are moving forward in your business, one of the things as Black women that we don't do well, and we have to really learn that, is to ask for help.
Yes.
And asking for help is going to bring you along your way much better. Because remember, you got the dream, you got
Mm-hmm.
the big vision. You cannot, I don't care who you are. Jesus Christ had 12 disciples.
Yeah.
So remember that. So you cannot develop, unleash, see this thing come to fruition by yourself. So the other thing I would say, one, move in it. Two, please learn to ask for help. Maybe you need to practice it in the mirror or something. I don't know. Do something. Do something. Start asking and practicing. I don't know.
Right.
So practice that.
Right.
Ask for help. Because the huge, the grandiose vision will not, cannot, because you're going to get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to get stuck, right? Because the thing that you want to develop, it has not, it ain't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't have the habit of asking for help, and also use your intuition. Your intuition plays huge into this. You will know who you need to ask for help. I'm not saying you go ask everybody for help. You will know who to bring on to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
And because you're going to have people that, going back to influence,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have people that's going to come along that you probably ain't paid them a dime, but they believe in this vision and they believe in where you're going. And so, because of them, they're going to help push this thing forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever it is that thing, one, maybe start to get it out your head, start to write this thing down. And then, after you start to write this thing out, and maybe you might want to put, I don't know, put some dates to it or whatever. But get it out your head. Do not die full,
Mm.
die as empty as you can. Because here's what you do if you're dying full. You robbed, you robbed all of us from experiencing that thing. You robbed all of us. I love cars, and today I was watching stuff on cars, and the gentleman that built the DeLorean,
Mm-hmm.
which we know the DeLorean as having the butterfly wings for the car.
Yeah.
No one had ever done that. The
Right.
car tanked because it cost too much money to build it, XYZ. But just think, because of what he did, there's other cars that came along that have the butterfly doors,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So don't rob the world of
Mm.
what it is that you need to birth out in the world. Don't do not. And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna even go a step further.
Yeah.
If you do, you're selfish.
Mm.
If you do, you're selfish.
Mm.
Why? Because you've taken advantage of other visionaries' paths. I talk about Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Incredible visionary. If he was selfish, people around the world would not experience the movies, the Disney films,
Mm-mm.
the different theme parks,
Yeah.
and on and on and on and on. So if you're selfish, that's fine because that's who you are. But don't go around saying that you got this dream or you got this whatever and you can't birth this thing
Mm.
because you need to learn to ask for help. And you need to use your intuition to to know who you need to ask for help from. So just because you may not know, have you written this thing out? Have you gotten
Yeah.
it out your head? That's the first thing. You need to get it out your head. However you need to get it out, use a crayon, talk it, use
Just whatever.
whatever you need to do, get it out your head.
Right.
Don't use the excuse that you can't bring this thing out because maybe you don't have nobody to help you or whatever it is that the story that you may be telling yourself. Because, like I said earlier, it took me 20 years. I kept on saying, I'm writing a book, I'm writing a book, I'm writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
No, good, well, I don't know nothing about writing no book.
Right.
But I would say it because it sounds good.
It sounds good.
It sounds real good. It sounds really
Mm-hmm.
good. And then
Mm-hmm.
finally, I had to make the decision. Leslie, are you now going to move forward and go ask somebody that have been doing this? Are you going to ask somebody to help you with this book?
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't just say things that I ain't done. I am one that when I talk, I
Yeah.
got some story to go with it. Right. So
Yes, you
so I
do.
know you asked for three. I don't know how many I gave you, but
Look, we take it all. Look, I don't care. Like I'm in here. Like I get to repeat this thing over and over and over again. So I'm gonna be writing stuff down. But all I know is do not die full.
don't.
That is not what we are here to do.
Mm-mm.
And Dwayne is even saying to go get a book called Who Not How and
Oh,
find some who's.
ooh, I'm writing that down, Dwayne.
Right. I know. I'm
I'm
like,
writing that
I
down. Who's not
yes.
how? Okay.
Dwayne is that. So thank you so much, Dwayne, for that because I've never heard of that book
I
either.
never did either.
So
Yeah.
um and I always like to know learn something new. But I love that. And you're right. We don't ask for help because we think we can do it all.
Yes.
And we've been conditioned to
Mhm.
do everything. And so when it does come time to, doing anything that we think that we can do, and then we get into it and we're like overwhelmed, stressed, and burnt out, this is when we need to really start asking ourselves, like, what are we doing?
Yes.
So, we talked about leadership, wellness, mindset, a little bit of business, so that way anyone who's listening in maybe can get a start from, what Lesley just shared with us. So, before we go, Lesley, what would you like to leave the audience with? Is there any other things that you had on your heart or on your mind that you were like, okay, let me share with the audience before we step off for tonight?
Mm. Be brave. One of the things that I say all the time is keep shining, but keep shining is really and truly getting down to some micro simple things. So just keep on doing those simple things over and over and over again. Be consistent. And consistent does not mean every day, 50 times a day, whatever that consistency is for you. I said I live by my calendar. So if this is something new for you and you have not done that before, get a calendar. Start building something for, I don't know, try it out for a week. So if it's, I'm not saying for you to go full out right now if it's a new habit for you, so maybe have a goal, because we can only focus on one thing at a time. We do what's in front of us and we do that one thing at a time. So whatever it is that goal that you want to do. I want to start a business. Okay, well, okay, you got a name? You got a name for the business? Okay, you got the name. Okay, so you're gonna register the business. So there's steps that you need to do, and they're gonna be real like monotonous steps. They not sexy. It's stuff that you're doing in the background. It ain't all the flashy stuff that you may see on social media, but it's the necessary steps that you need to do, right? And all that is doing is just building you for that consistency. But be brave, show up courageous, get into who you are, know who you are, so that when you do show up, you are showing up brave and courageous. And I say this all the time, is that earlier when Slay Queen read my intro, it says women globally. Yes, that is my desire. But for me, it is one person at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we can only focus on one thing at a time. So as you are moving forward in whatever you're doing, it's one person, one thing at a time. But know that if it wasn't for you to do, you would not have gotten it. So the fact that you got it, this thing is for you, and you
Mm-hmm.
definitely can do this thing. So that's what I want to. That's that. I think that's what I would leave with.
Well, I am super excited. I don't know about y'all, but I got filled up with so much that we can just grow from, learn from, share with others. So that way we're not keeping information to ourselves. We got to pass it along. All right.
Yes.
Dwayne said, she also talked about Jesus, and he said we can do all things through him, walk by faith and not by sight.
There we
Yes,
go.
Dwayne. And Tiffany says, thank you so much for sharing your powerful words tonight.
Tiffany, thank
So,
you.
for all those that are here with us, we want to say thank you for hanging out with us for literally an hour and a half almost here
Mm.
for 90 minutes. But I know that many of you were looking for this conversation to be had. And of course, our guest is just absolutely amazing, a phenomenal woman. Lesley, I do thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy. I thank you for what you do and what you continue to do for all the women. I'll say all the women that come in, especially into Mosaic Inc. So again, if you don't have the Clubhouse app, at 7:45 every morning, Monday through Friday, we are on there, and you can just find us talking, and we talk literally about all things life. So there is nothing, no conversation that we talk about that you can't resonate with. So um, anyone who is here, who comes back and you said, hey, I just want to listen, just put in hashtag replay so we can see that, so I can make a comment for you too. Latricia says, thank you, Lesley George. And Christina says, this was an important and impactful conversation. Thank you both. Thank you all for being here. Again, we're going to add this as a QR code. Scan it, scan it, scan it. Check it out to see exactly what Slay Success is all about and what it's up to. And if you're not on the weekly email list, please make sure you are, because I will start sending out information about our bigger event that's coming in April of 2024. So, and we have a leadership series going on too. So that can be found on the QR code if you're interested in getting more information about being an effective leader, especially as a woman leader in today's world. Yes, thank you so much, Dwayne, for you being here. You also have a fantastic week. All right, so we're gonna sign out, everyone. Keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. Thank you, Lesley, again.
Thank
And we will
you.
see you all soon next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same channel. Love y'all. Bye-bye.